has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. It's pain-free Friday. Ferrall's doling out minutes on a mahogany, waxing it up. 100, 200, bad apple with a bad attitude. We are live in New York City. The Big Apple. Ooh. People dressed in plastic bags, directing traffic, some kind of fucking shake it up, should do it. And, of course, we're with the Tutty and Tater King himself, the integrity sheet rights holder, the founder of the Aisle Seat podcast, the golf guru ticket breaker. He knows how to make you money on that golf course, doesn't he? It's Carver High this afternoon, ladies. Mafia running it with Luke. I am your father. The rundown today, we got a double shot with Morency this very hour from Vancouver. In the second hour, there he is. Coach Terry Bowden joins us to break down the other national semifinal, which is tonight at Jerry's World in snowy Dallas between Texas and Ohio State. Also, Dr. Zhivago, Dr. David Chow from SixScore.com in San Diego, Sports Injury Central. It is all evolving rapidly on a Friday. How about them Irish, Carver High? Did you like that? Down 10-3 at the half. That second half comeback, scoring on the first drive, scoring again, going up 17-10, down 24-17, scoring again. The bomb with the juke move, the 54-yard hizzy, and then the Gray. Wasn't that the guy, Christian Gray, from the sex movie, 50 Shades of Grey? And then you get the Derek Jeter game-winning field goal from 40 minutes. How about them Irish eyes smiling again?
That was, first of all, it was an unbelievable football game. We've had a lot of duds in the college football playoff. That game last night was worth the price of admission. It was awesome. Irish, you texted me right before the end of the first half, and I was saying the same thing in my head. I mean, the Irish were getting absolutely worked in that first half, but they were only down one score. You know, that was the weird thing about it. They got worked in the entire first half, but they were only down a score, made the right adjustments at the half. Freeman did an unbelievable job, offensive coordinator, and they come out, tied a game, played great, started stopping the run, started being able to run the football. Fourth quarter got crazy back and forth with plays. I thought they were going to get screwed with a couple of those calls in the fourth quarter, but they ended up getting one back. And just unbelievable performance. I know that Aller's taking a lot of heat, as he should today, because that was an awful throw that he made there at the end of that game. What a shame.
What did you think of Steve Angeli, the kid from Bergen Catholic here in North Jersey, who came into the game through 6 of 7 passes for strikes, 44 yards, fumbled, they recovered it, went down and kicked a field goal to make it a 7-point game at the half. I thought he had a big contributing factor.
If the Irish somehow finish this thing off and beat the winner of tonight's game on the 20th there in Atlanta, people are going to talk about that series because that was huge. What Angeli did coming in the game, moved the football for the first time all night because Penn State wasn't ready for that. They were prepared clearly for Riley Leonard, the running game, all the things that he does. And Angeli came in there and started beep, 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 and Penn State didn't know what was hitting them. And for him to get them points before the half was enormous. And I thought completely changed the game. And that kid, who hasn't played a lot in his career, last year he played in the bowl game and had a great bowl game against Oregon State. Did all he hasn't had a lot of opportunities. That was a huge spot for him last night. And I'll remember as an Irish fan, and I know many will, what Angeli did coming in there at the end of the first half. But I just think Marcus Freeman deserves all the flowers today, Scotty. He's got the Irish back with a chance to win their first national championship in decades. And that's only 3 years after your boy ran south saying that he didn't think he could win in South Bend and that he was going to LSU because he didn't think he could win. And this guy's got him playing for a national championship 3 years later after beating Georgia, Penn State, all these teams that either – the Irish will play for it all a week from Monday in Atlanta. I love it.
How about Jaden Greathouse with that catch and that juke? And that dude's onions just tore in half. He fell down.
Yep.
He got worked. Unbelievable play. And look, that I was stunned because we've talked about it. The Irish passing game is not exactly the strength of their team. And it had to be in the second half when they were down. And it's what won them the game. And I thought Love, who played hurt, that touchdown run that he had that initially put them up 17 just absolutely bullying his way through the Penn State defense to score that touchdown. There were so many moments for the Irish. It was a hell of a game, but it still comes down to that Aller got bailed out twice. He threw 2 picks that both got called back because of penalties in that game, but they didn't call back the third one. The third one stuck, baby, and the Irish take it back. And how about a college kicker actually making a big kick at the end of the game? Your boy Jeter making a kick. It was beautiful. And then, especially after yesterday, all the awful things we said about Penn State, and then we had to hang on the edge of our seat. I told you I said it. They're really good. They can win the game.
We said it'd be a close game.
They're fantastic team. But how about afterwards? Didn't the guys start talking about we played in our conference title game, and this guy Franklin, it's like going right over his head.
Enough of his excuses.
What is wrong with this dude?
I'm tired of it. Look, he doesn't win big games, and I don't necessarily think it was his fault last night, but. He's, as Prawns always says, he's the worst. He never makes adjustments at halftime. He's one of the worst halftime adjustment coaches. You had to know the Irish were going to come out with a little something different in the second half. And let me tell you, some of those Penn State guys, they were peacocking big time in the first half, especially their guys on defense. They thought that Notre Dame was going to do nothing in that game. And sure enough, Irish eyes were smiling by the end of it. A tremendous win for them. Enough of Franklin. He could take a walk. Another big loss for him. He could sit up there with his tears and everything else afterwards. You lose. That's what happens, Scotty. You lose. And that's what it goes. So we'll talk about that. And they're going to play the winner of tonight, Ohio State and Texas in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. They got a lot to live up to after last night because that was a hell of a game. They got a lot to live up to tonight in terms of how good that game was.
I mean, I don't know how you live up to that, but they're going to give it a whirl. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of factors here for me that include the conditions outside. They had a massive snowstorm. The roads were, hundreds of car wrecks and everything else. No one flights canceled. No one's flying in there, blah, blah, blah. You're not flying in there from Columbus, Ohio today. You're not. I mean, it's just not happening. I keep telling you, yesterday before I even knew it was snowing, I was like, there's going to be 80,000 out of 100,000 of those fans at that place are going to be all over Texas. It's a home game for Texas. Can they handle this pro team they're playing? I mean, the Ohio State Buckeyes are a pro team, and it's going to be unbelievable. And the line went up to 6, so there's a lot riding on this game tonight. It's going to be incredible. Plus, you got Thunder and Knicks tonight at the Garden. Are you kidding me? I'm going to have a stroke.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You can always catch Sports Rage weeknights at 10 Eastern along all of our outlets on the TV and radio sides. But you can catch Morency with a double shot every day on Coast to Coast right here from Vancouver every afternoon. And lunchtime out there, chilling the most out here. Good to see you, Gabe. I want to start with this. It's always Drew Aller, if you ask me, that's the problem for Penn State. He throws picks. He makes mistakes late in games. Again, he does it in this game late, across the middle, across the body. Christian Gray picks him off. Notre Dame goes 20 yards, kicks a field goal, wins the game. Bottom line is he made the mistake that cost him a shot at a national championship. If you look at all of his big games, he throws picks left and right.
Yeah, I'm not out on the warpath to bury a kid for losing a 27-24 game like everybody is. He threw the interception at the wrong time, moments after Riley Leonard screwed up multiple times. They both did the exact same thing, right? Riley Leonard made the play when he had to. He made a couple of passes, but terrible interceptions from Riley Leonard as well, right? It was just sort of when the clock just sort of ended up. And, it was a terrible play. It was, but it was the same thing when Riley Leonard decided to just sail it, right? Throw it right to a Penn State Nittany line. And then he did it again after, right? No one ever thought, coming into this, that the quarterbacks were going to be the stars of the game, so to speak. It was unfortunate timing. It was a terrible pass. No one can dispute it from Aller, but it was a hell of a football game. I'm not going after him. I'm not burying him. I think people are stupid that they go, oh, look, Franklin's now 1-15 against teams in the top 5. It's not easy beating teams in the top 5. The guy made it to the semifinal. I know we're in a modern witch hunt society now that everybody sucks after they lose. No one, don't draft them. I mean, if you look online right now, Drew Aller should quit playing football and just go work at Walmart. And I'll tell you what, Drew Aller's going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft. He's going to be a multimillionaire, and he's going to have a hotter wife and girlfriend than 99.9% of the people that are ripping him, right? So, the kid threw an interception in a tough game. It happens, but I'm not blaming him for the loss. I mean, it was a super close game, Scott. You got a 24-24 game. Both quarterbacks are making mistakes. And, it was just who's going to – I said it live on the air last night, Scott. To me, it was like it's like a college basketball game that's like tied, you know what I mean, with like 30 seconds left. And both teams were just missing free throws. It was like, I can't believe you missed them both. We're going to lose the game because of this. And then, boom, the other team would miss both free throws. So let's not forget, Riley Leonard did a lot of stupid things last night as well. Yeah, he made a couple of plays. He nearly gave the game away as well, Scott. So I'm not blaming Drew Aller. It was a bad pass. It was a stupid play to do. But I blame the coaching staff, too, in a sense that you got to know what plays to call. You don't want to, you don't want to give it away. And at that point, both quarterbacks had given it away so much, it was like every time Notre Dame threw the ball, you had to hold your breath. And every time Aller runs around, that was one of the reasons why I like Notre Dame. If you take Aller out of his comfort zone a little bit, I think he'll force things, and we saw that.
I think that he's smart to go back. I've said that on the show with you and others, that I felt he wasn't ready for the NFL yet. I think another season of priming will help him immensely. I think he'll be a much better quarterback.
He looks like he's 14 years old. Like you saw when he was on the sideline. He looks like a kid still. Yeah, he's nowhere near ready for the NFL.
But some people thought he was.
I know. This is the weirdest NFL draft for quarterbacks ever, Scott. Like, honestly, I've never seen so many quarterbacks not want to go to the NFL. Like, you know what I mean? Like, normally it's like, if you have, like, the slightest, listen, I'm not going to get as drafted as high as the first round, but I'm still going to go in the third or fourth round, so I'm going to the NFL. Now, I think the NIL has a lot to do with it.
Of course it does.
Like, if you're Carson Beck, But listen, we should note, most college quarterbacks already have money. There's not a lot of poor college quarterbacks. Like, there's a few. There are a lot of, mostly, like, if you look at the NFL, actually, most of the quarterbacks are, like, middle-class, upper-class families. So, money, you know what I mean? Like, J.J. McCarthy's a good example. J.J. McCarthy's family wasn't rich, but money wasn't an issue for him. Wasn't like, I'm starving, my family's starving, I need to go to the NFL. You can make a football decision. And it seems now, too, I think a lot of these kids know it. I think it's a warning sign, Scott, almost, like Carson Beck. I got to wonder, like, the kid lacks confidence, obviously. You're lacking self-confidence if you want to go stay in the same spot. And I get it. Oh, I'm making $4 million or whatnot. And that's another thing, too. Some of these college quarterbacks are making more money than NFL quarterbacks would as rookies.
Of course.
Right. Much more.
And why go when you're making all that money in college? Like,
and even who cares if you don't make it to the NFL, Scott? It's amazing, though. Why, even if you don't make it to the NFL and you're a college star, who cares? What a life. You went to college, you played college football, you made $10 million, and now you're an analyst. You didn't even go to the league and get all beat up. You skipped go, and you went right to the money and right to the life after, right? I know you want to play in the NFL, etc., but we're to the point now where, guys, there's kids that are going to be multimillionaires. Like Dylan Gabriel's got millions of dollars. He's not going to be a big star in the NFL, Dylan Gabriel, right? You know what I mean? Quinn Ewers, another one where he's like, wow, I can make $6, $7, $8 million by staying. It really is a crazy era right now, but good signing for the Hurricanes with Beck, and a smart move by Beck to go back, I think.
What did you tell me the kid at LSU's wanted?
Yeah, there's this Kyron Lacey, the wide receiver. You're going to like this one, Scott. He declared for the draft a couple of weeks ago. He didn't tell anybody that he was wanted for hit and run when he declared for the draft.
Whoops.
Yes. Did you think they were going to find out? That's almost like, yeah, don't worry. They're not going to find out that I stole something from a CVS when I was 14. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, did he think, no, they're not going to, they won't find out that I killed somebody. He actually caused death. So there's an arrest warrant right now for Kyron Lacey of the LSU Tigers, who just declared for the NFL. He's wanted in a fatal crash that killed one and injured two.
Brian Kelly's going to drive him to the police station. He's not busy. We'll come back and talk about the Texas-Ohio State game with Morency and the Wild Cards.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Take a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid.
Brian Kelly not getting enough heat for his decision. We've talked about it on this show. Like, this guy walked away from South Bend thinking he had greener pastures in Baton Rouge, and what a nightmare that turned into. And then why don't you lead into, from that, the Texas-Ohio State game tonight at Jerry's World, snowstorm in Dallas, real bad situation down there weather-wise. But the Longhorns and Buckeyes are still going to play tonight in Arlington at the, Cowboys Stadium, and it's going to be quite a scene, 100,000 plus rocking for Texas.
Just quickly, as far as Brian Kelly is concerned, like, short of his wife leaving him and marrying a rival coach, I really don't know what else could happen to him right now. And I don't think that people are taking enough joy in this, because he really is one of the biggest jerks in college football. And he leaves Notre Dame, and okay, fine. You know what I mean? Fine. You know what I mean? I don't think, you should be hated because you switch schools, you change jobs, you move cities. But the comments about you didn't think that you could, there's not enough talent. You can't recruit at Notre Dame quite, players good enough to win the national championship with, because as we saw, every time Kelly got close, he got pushed right back down the hill, and he got beat up pretty good trying to do it. So you got to love the irony of him leaving, Notre Dame getting to the championship game, and not by fluke. I mean, they're a damn good football team. Them getting to the national championship game with Marcus Freeman, who's the polar opposite of Kelly, who the players love to death, and everybody just, you know what I mean? Total opposite. And Kelly goes to a school, Scott, that is, he had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You've got NFL studs. Dude, Malik Neighbors was his wide receiver, Scott. What has he won? You know what I mean?
Nothing.
You have all these top 10 NFL picks, and you go 8-4, bro, or 7-5 or whatever it is every year. You've lost the opening game, like 5 years in a row at that school now? You yourself have lost like 3 or 4 of them now. And think about it. The last 3 coaches that were head coaches of LSU all won national championships. That's the bar. Nick Saban won. Les Miles came in, won the championship. Chicken on a stick, Ed Orgeron won a championship, right? I like chicken on a
Everyone.
stick. The Exxon.
They all won.
You and I can win with that roster, Scott. Except old fake deep South accent Brian Kelly. Y'all, my family, y'all. Yeah, whatever, bro. You're gonna have the Mass accent when you're back coaching Boston College in a couple of years. So, you know what I mean? Whatever, bro. Good for you, Kelly. What a great look for Brian Kelly. I've always thought he was a jerk.
What do you think
died
tonight?
on his practice watch. He didn't even care.
What do you think tonight? Texas, Ohio State.
I think Texas are going to surprise people. And I don't know if it should really be. I don't really think I don't think it should be that much of a shock. We're talking about a 13-2 football team. You know what I mean? Dude, the Texas Longhorns have lost to one team this year, the Georgia Bulldogs. All right? They can't beat Georgia. Fine. They're not playing Georgia this time. You want to get into common opponents, the Texas Longhorns beat down Michigan. What happened when Michigan played Ohio State? Like, this is not some sort of mismatch tonight. Quinn Ewers, you were talking about Aller. Quinn Ewers is going to be the one under the gun tonight, Scott. Ewers needs to, play. Thing with Ewers is, you guys see, at times he looks like, you're like, whoa, man, this guy's good. And at other times you're like, whoa, this guy, man, this guy's got backup in the NFL, written all over him, right? He looks like a Colt McCoy type in the NFL. He's got to put it together for a full 60 minutes, Ewers, because it's there. He can make the throws, right? And no one's disputing this. To me, though, guys, the difference in this game is the Oregon Duck defense suck. And another thing is the Oregon Ducks are chokers. They never win big games. They're like the Vikings of college football. Remember, they lost both games to the Washington Huskies last year. All right? Lanning hasn't won a big game yet. He's going to be the new Ryan Day of the West type of deal. He's got to figure out a way to get over the top, Lanning. Great coach, but you got to win a big game. So Sarkisian's been here before. Texas will not be intimidated. They've been in big games. They have the secondary. Texas have arguably the best secondary in college football. They're ranked top 3 metric-wise. And they also have a great offensive line, Scott. Kelvin Banks, Jr. guy, is going to be a top 5 draft pick in the NFL draft. Texas have the NFL talent to hang with Ohio State. They just have to go out there and do it. Give me the Longhorns plus the points and the over.
What's your favorite NFL wildcard bet this weekend?
Favorite NFL wildcard bet? Bills, Broncos, over.
There you go. Bills, Broncos, over.
Over 47.5.
All the games tonight, Saturday, Sunday. We'll see you Monday. Morency, have a fantastic weekend, brother man.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with pro football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid.
got to tell you, Carver High, I know we're going to talk about the Irish. I just want to tell you, you know that your boy Hasseltine, and he got John Morant to give me those shoes. Like I almost fell over today.
Wow.
When I got a knock at the door, and there was a box with those John Morant 2s in them. Just blew my mind. I put a picture up on Instagram. I think I'm at Scott_Ferrall. And for Eric Hasseltine and John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies, thank you. That was really cool. His shoes are the greatest shoes I've ever played in. I think they're just fantastic. And I told Eric that one day, and he went and told John, and he got me a pair of them. Like, it's just the craziest thing. But it was really cool. It was like Christmas all over again. I freaked out. And they are the coolest shoes I've ever seen. He wrote all this stuff on the bottoms of them. All these sayings and who he thanked, and he even thanked his haters. Every single thing in the world that got him to where he is today is on both shoes, on the soles of the shoes. And they are just absolutely sickening, cool, badass shoes. Like, they're so nice I won't even wear them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, those are ones you've got so many that you haven't worn yet either. So you have a lot. You have so many shoes.
It's like number 5 deep. They're number 5.
You can
now
leave.
Deep and back up.
You can leave the jaws to the side and just let those sit. Nice job by Eric down there in Memphis to make that happen for you. All right, we have a lot to do today. Let's start by quickly going through this from last night, because I had to play Notre Dame highlights today. There just wasn't a way it wasn't going to happen. Irish win 27-24. Why don't we pick it up? Irish down 24-17 with just under 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and take us home from there on ESPN.
Under 5 minutes to go. Second down and 8. Penn State leads by a touchdown. Leonard throws wide open. Jaden Greathouse avoided Jalen Reed and scores. 54 yards. There's Barker. As long as 49. Aller hit as he throws. And it is intercepted. Christian Gray picks it off. Graduate student from Salisbury, North Carolina, to give Notre Dame the lead in the final seconds. 41-yard attempt. Snap and hold are good. The kick is good!
Let's go Irish! Brought back so many memories of my childhood, I got to tell you. I was there with Lou Holtz. I was there with Dan Devine. I was there with Joe Montana. I've seen 1,000 games at Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, one of the greatest places, an institution in sports, not just college football, an institution in sports.
An institution in sports. So proud of this team after last night. Just a tremendous job by them. Of course,
you see the Capital One guy there? What's in your wallet? Did you see him?
Well, that was the same guy. That's the guy that's in that in that commercial with Jeter and the astronaut that's been pumping everywhere. That's the same dude last night that was hanging around on the dais with the Orange Bowl trophy. The guy is everywhere. It's amazing. Here is Marcus Freeman. Of course, halftime is where it was the key. They were down 10-3, just got a big 3 points from Angeli. And Freeman said, we knew what we needed to change at halftime. We got it done.
We have to be able to run the ball. We got to stop the run. That's not changing. We said that going into the game, and we're saying that at halftime. And we had to make some adjustments, which we did. We had tried to calm some things down. And you know what? The rushing attack truly helped us open some things in the passing game in that second half. And you know what? Riley just executed. The wideouts executed. The O-line did their job. Tight ends played well. And you know, you find a way to win it in a game-winning field goal. So it was going to be a battle. And we didn't have great production in the first half, and it was a 7-point game. And I told them, we get the ball the first series of the second half, and we just got to go out and execute on this play. But I wanted them to understand we did not play to our standard in the first half. And credit to Penn State for what they did on both sides of the ball. But it was a 7-point game. It didn't feel like that going into the locker room, but it was a 7-point game, and our guys went out there and performed that second half.
That was the key. You and I talked about it already, is that it was only a one-score game. I thought the field goal, I thought what Angeli did was incredible, and they were getting physically dominated in the first 30 minutes of that football game, without a doubt. And, I mean, I was like, they are in trouble. At one point, I wrote you toast. They're in trouble. They are getting pushed around. But what they did to adjust, and remember, we haven't even talked about the fact they lost 2 of their starting offensive linemen in the first half, and those guys were finished. And I thought that was something that you had to overcome big time, that they plugged 2 holes with backups that did their jobs. I heard him say, the one tackle, he's only done 68 snaps the whole season. But he was a senior. He has been in football games, so he went out and did a hell of a job. I thought they did all the adjustments they needed to make it a game in the second half. I thought the key to the game for me was the first drive of the second half, that they went down and scored and made it 10-all and turned it into a 0-0 game again.
That was enormous. On the other side, of course, I gave you all the Franklin stuff. 4-20 versus top 10 opponents. It's even worse against top 5. And you know what? I don't care, frankly. You know, Franklin, I had enough of him the last few days. That day before press conference where he's, talking to Freeman. He's, how old are you? And look at his hairline. And you should be in a conference. And you should do all this. Freeman was all business the whole time. So you get what you get, James Franklin. Here he is. They just came up short.
I think in games like this at this point of the season,
you lose.
Everybody wants to pick out a specific play. There's probably 8 to 12 plays in that game that if we could have found a way to make a few more plays in that game, we're that close, right? It's a game of inches. So I'm not going to call out or talk about specific plays or specific players, because there's a ton of plays that we're going to look back on it from that game that we could have did better, and that we should have did better, and that we could have called better. So it's all of it, but it starts with giving Notre Dame credit. That's a good football team.
Look, let's just face facts. You can say whatever you want about him. It's so easy to hit this guy because he never wins these big games. I'll tell you what, though. Penn State football is a powerhouse, and every year it's the same thing. They're going to be good every year. They are going to be loaded every year. They're going to have talent every year, and they are well coached, and they came this close. And as they always say, somebody's got to lose. You lose.
Look, I love getting on Franklin as well, but it's kind of like the thing we did with Brian Kelly Notre Dame. Like, if he were to leave, who would do a better job than him? He wins 10, 11 games every single year. Now with this playoff being 12 teams instead of 4, more years than not, he's going to be in it every year. I think his biggest problem that since he's been there is that, and I know people love this Aller, whatever, he hasn't found the quarterback that can win him the whole thing and win these big games. And I think that's what holds Franklin back. He's had great defenses. He's had great running games. He hasn't had the quarterback to go along with it. And you look at all these guys that have come through that door, Aller and Clifford and Hackenberg, all these.
Right.
None of those guys are not NFL quarterbacks. Okay, they're just not. I don't think this guy Aller is either.
I don't think he is either, Mike. I don't.
Whatever.
He was a high school star. He was the best high school quarterback in the country, but he's never been great in college. And all this talk about he's going to be a first-round pick and he's going to make tons of money. Be careful what you wish for. I don't think that's happening. I don't see a superstar quarterback in him at all. I see a guy that makes lots of mistakes.
I do too, and he better go back to school. I know he better go back now. I know there was all that talk. If they win, he might come out. He better go back.
He's got more. He's got
more work to do.
He needs a lot more grooming.
That Abdul Carter, he's going to the draft because that kid's going in the top 5. That kid's no joke. Defensive line.
Guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid.
Carver High was under a tremendous strain last night with the Notre Dame game on. A lot of stress and pressure, and now he's free of that. He's rid of it. He's done with it. Now he can sit back and watch Texas and Ohio State play just to see who Notre Dame's going to play on the 20th at the Benz in Hot Town in Atlanta. But the reality is, last night he was stressed out, so I only texted him once or twice. I was like, oh, my God, they're in trouble. And then I wrote toast, and then I just left him alone the rest of the night because he's like a nasty old dog. And someone touches his bone, he's like an old dog. And then so I just said, I'm going to stay out of here. And now tonight he has no stress.
There was definitely some high levels of stress, especially in the second half. And no, the thing was, I went into up until that Angeli drive. I kind of thought they were going to get racked because they were just getting pushed around so much that I thought this just isn't going to end well. They're going to lose like 16-3 or something like that. Like, it's going to be an ugly game. But the Angeli drive actually gave me a spark. And I was like, all right, let's go here. And I actually kind of thought, I didn't think Leonard.
Did you know he was from around here?
I knew he was a Jersey guy, yeah. From him being with the program the last couple of years. I knew all that.
Did you know that Belichick was over here in Jersey?
Yes.
He was at St. Joe's the other day taking pictures with kids, recruiting kids.
He's trying to become a great recruiter. Wants to be a great recruiter. You gotta get. Can you imagine a guy with 6 Super Bowl rings walking into your gym or walking into your living room to talk to your kid? Like, that's the wild part about Belichick doing that now. That's where he's going to be. As you mentioned, the Cotton Bowl tonight in Dallas. The winner will face Notre Dame a week from Monday, the 20th, in Atlanta for the College Football Playoff national title. Ohio State, they have looked unbelievable in the playoff. They smashed Tennessee. They destroyed Oregon at the Rose Bowl. Everything has turned around since when? Since that loss to Michigan. So what has changed? Here is Ryan Day.
And I think the second thing is there's great stories individually within this team and collectively as a team. But the only way that the story is told about your team is if you win. That's the reality. And so I think they realize that. I think it's a resilient group. And
Very resilient.
I think they know where they are right now.
They
know the opponent. I think we're focused on the opponent. But ultimately, it comes down to our execution, and that's really what it is. And when we're executing well, then certainly there's a lot more emotion in the game. That's really what it is. And so we've all really focused on doing our job, coaches and players included.
Listen, here's the deal. I've never seen anything like, frankly, those two receivers, Ibuka and Smith. How anyone can even remotely try to guard them is the key to the game. That's it. Like, if you can't stop, literally, guard or stop those two guys, you're dead. I mean, this quarterback, Howard, it's not like he has special skills, okay? This reminds me of playing in the yard, Nerf football with the kids. Like, it's simple. Go deep. And if you're open, I'm going to get it to you. It's simple. He sees these guys bust a move and get that step, and he just throws the ball and they catch it. It's simple. I don't think he has a hard job at all. The guy's got an arm, and he knows he just has to lead them. Once they get that step, it's over. I think Ohio State has the best receivers I've ever seen in college football. And I mean, I think Texas's biggest problem tonight is those two guys. And that running back's a problem. And I think Howard has become a problem because that line is so good at protecting him. He just sits there and waits until he knows he can look 1, 2, 3. He can look at all three spots on the field from the middle to the sides. And whoever's got that step, it's over. He just lets it fly. And then they run right underneath it and catch it. You saw what they did to Oregon. It was embarrassing. Like, they won the game because of those receivers, Mike.
They won the game because of the receivers. And I think same thing, really both games. I thought even in the Tennessee game at home in Columbus, those guys went off against the Vols. And that is what has been the change. Texas maybe has the defensive backs that can be up to the challenge, hopefully tonight down there in Dallas. Here's Steve Sarkisian. Of course, we always know the coaches, they don't know the spreads, right, Scotty? They got no idea. They don't worry about spreads.
Of course
they
not.
never know the spreads. Well, Sark knows them. He said even the day after this matchup came out, he goes, we're big underdogs to this team. There's just no doubt about it. He spoke about that again yesterday at the press conference.
I think a lot of times, in this format, now we're kind of in this NFL format model, it's not always about who was the best team for 12 games. It's who's playing the best football this time of the year. And I think we could all agree what Coach Day's done, their team, them coming out of that Michigan game and what they've been able to do since the playoffs have started has been tremendous. And that's a credit to Coach Day and his staff of regalvanizing that roster and getting them going. And I could probably poll everybody in this room, and you'd probably all agree they're the favorite to win the game. And that's okay, but that's football, that's sport. That's why we have to do what we do. So I'm not going to back off of what I said. The reality is the reality. Now we have to go perform. That's our responsibility as a football team to go perform. But they've earned that right because of the way they've played here the past couple weeks.
Mike, the key for me in this football game is, frankly, time of possession. Texas has to have the football. They cannot let this team onto the field and throw the ball all over the place and score touchdowns because no one can guard Smith. And because so many people worry about Smith, this Ibuka guy's about to break the Ohio State all-time record tonight for being the greatest receiver ever. That guy's not the greatest receiver ever at Ohio State, even if he breaks it, and everybody knows it. You know why he has such gigantic numbers? It's because the other kid's so good that no one guards him. No one covers him because they have to worry about this other guy so bad. The safety, the corners, the entire defense has to worry about Smith, and it leaves this other guy. It's like he's on a freedom pact. The guy's got it. He got his own night. The whole side of the field's all to himself. So, look, and he's going to get drafted. He's going to get drafted high too. And I think people are going to be in for a rude awakening when they see that he's not open in the NFL like he's open in Columbus.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid.
Why don't we hook up with my boy Rich Sermonello?
Hey, Scotty, we got one half of the national championship set. We still have one game tonight between Ohio State and Texas. Cotton Bowl, State of Texas, Jerry's World. I think this is going to be phenomenal. We've got two traditional powers, only met 3 times in history, Texas versus Ohio State. Let's take a look at the units for these two teams and how they got here. First off, Ohio State, no one has been more impressive. Blowouts of Tennessee, blowout of Oregon. Got to be honest, did not see that one coming. Thought that would be a much more competitive game. Outcome was never in doubt. As you watched in the Rose Bowl, Ohio State got it done on both sides of the ball. Texas, on the other hand, a lot rockier to get to this point. Clemson win, but got a little bit dicey in the second half. And then that thriller in Atlanta against Arizona State, to me, showed a lot of resiliency for Texas and Steve Sarkisian's team, but also showed a lot of weaknesses. So quickly, let's take a look at the units. First off, offense for Ohio State. What has stood out for me is the offensive line, which lost a couple of key players, now have begun to gel. Chip Kelly, much maligned at the end of the regular season, that loss to Michigan, finally has an identity. He's like, listen, you know, we've got Jeremiah Smith, we've got Emeka Egbuka, we've got those two big running backs in Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Let's just turn them loose. And that has not only benefited the offense, Scott, but really Will Howard. I've never seen Will Howard, going back to the Kansas State days, never seen him so confident. He's in rhythm, and when Will Howard is in rhythm, that offense has been unstoppable. Against Tennessee, no one scored as many points as they did against the Vols this year, 42. Against Oregon, no one scored as many points as Ohio State did in Pasadena, 41. I think that continues, even against this very good Texas defense. So Ohio State, I think, continues to roll offensively. Here's my concern with Texas, Scott. Not so much defense, a lot of talent up front, Jahdae Barron on the back end. My concern is the offense, the inconsistencies of Quinn Ewers, the inconsistencies of the running game. Ohio State's defense, for all the talk about Jeremiah Smith and Will Howard, that defense of Jim Knowles has been phenomenal. He's got some really good parts at every level. He's got hybrid players like Sonny Styles and Lathan Ransom. Cody Simon's been phenomenal. I think Texas struggles to run the ball struggles to score. I'm not getting in the way of Ohio State right now. -5.5 is what I got in on. Give me the Buckeyes. And in terms of a quirkier pick, I think we'll see Arch Manning. Quinn Ewers has been healthy for far too long. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't finish this game. Give me Arch Manning anytime touchdown, +700. I think it might be a precursor of seeing more of Arch in 2025. So Ohio State laying the points and Arch Manning anytime touchdown. Those are my plays for tonight's game.
My man, Rich, thank you, brother. Happy New Year. Great to see you. 7-1 on that, Carver High. And Arch Manning, anytime touchdown. I think that's a smart play.
I think it's a smart play if you're like Rich and you think that Ohio State's going to win this game tonight. Because if Ohio State's winning, maybe up multiple scores in the second half, I think that's your path to seeing Arch Manning in this game. If you're like me, though, going to the other side, I hope we don't see Arch Manning. This is now up to 6.5 the last couple of hours. 53.5 is the total. Actually down to 51.5 now today. It was 53.5 the last couple of days. I'm on Texas. Ewers, remember, started his college career in Ohio State, in Columbus. He's been at Texas since. Maybe he plays well. I sure hope he does. But I think the Texas D is going to play well. I think it's an under, and I think that Texas finds a way to cover the 6.5. Maybe even wins.
Yeah, I don't know about all right, fair enough. I hope you're right and everything that the under hits. I'm not feeling an under in this game either. I don't know how you stop Ohio State. I don't believe for 1 minute that Texas is just shutting them down. They scored too much. They score against everybody. They've had one game they didn't score in. They scored in the first Oregon game. I mean, they put up 30-plus points. The only game they didn't score in was the Michigan game. They had one bad game. They've never lived it down. It's their worst nightmare. It haunts them. I get all of that. But since then, they have been terrorizing teams. And I think, Rich sounded like Texas is awful. I mean, they found a way against Arizona State with that second possession and that second overtime to score immediately and get the 2-point conversion and win the game and have 39 points. So I think they can do it again. I think that they can have at least 29, 30 points. So I still think the over's viable in this game. We'll see how it plays out, though.
We'll be right back. It's time for a SportsGrid 2-minute drill.
Time now to play a little buy or sell. The Kansas City Chiefs, George, will win their third straight Super Bowl. Are you buying or selling?
They do seem to be hitting their stride. All right, they get now, 3.5 weeks off here, get everybody healthy. Mahomes, the ankle. Kelsey gets the rest. Chris Jones, who missed that game on Christmas, now he gets the rest of it. He's an extremely important part of that defense. So they're looking good. They're covering spreads now, something they weren't doing. Now they're actually winning legitimate games. That being said, that offensive line is still bad. All right, and I think there'll be teams that take advantage of that. No, I'm selling. I'm selling here.
I don't even care if I believe this or not. I'm selling. I do not want to see this. I do not want to see the Chiefs win again. This has not been a fun year watching them. They've gotten lucky. They've gotten some calls. No, please no. Jamar Chase will win the receiving triple crown this season. Yards, receptions, and touchdowns. George, you going to buy or sell this?
I'm going to sell this. I'm going to say, he's great. He's going to have a lot of great numbers here, but I'm going to say no, he won't get the receiver crown. Maybe 2 out of 3. He'll just miss. He'll do a little Aaron Judge. He won't get the average.
All right, I'll play the buy. I'll play the buy card just to play something different in the end, and he was my best player in fantasy this year, so I'll say buy there. I'm going to skip ahead, Sam, to the last one, the running back here. Bucky Irving, who's been fantastic for Tampa Bay, will be a top 8 running back in drafts next season. Is this buy or sell?
Assuming everybody comes back, Godwin, Evans, Mayfield, I see no reason why they wouldn't. I'm going to buy this, Craig. I'm going to buy. I think Bucky Irving is going to be that guy. It's a heavy passing offense, lots of touchdowns. Buy.
Fantasy Sports Today, your weekend source for year-round fantasy insights. 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.